All right, so this is just a quick refresher over what we did right before the Thanksgiving break. If you were not here, you did not make the foldable, so you need to pay attention. If you were here, you made the foldable, so this should just be a quick refresh. Now, if you weren't here to make the foldable, you're going to need to copy these notes down, but not in this video because I'm going to go too fast. There are PDF versions printed out in class that you can use, or if you want to get on Google Classroom, you can also copy them from there. So we're now dealing with congruent triangles, and the first thing we have to decide is what are congruent triangles. And I tell you that here, that they have all the angles and sides congruent, which means equal. So in this drawing below, I made the tick marks. So if you see here, angle A is with angle D, angle B is equal to angle E, angle C is equal to angle F, and their sides are also equal to each other. So if I was to write the congruency statement, I usually follow the order of the angles. So I go with triangle A, B, C, so I went red to pink to green, is congruent to D, E, F. Remember, we had a similar symbol, now we have a congruent symbol. You don't need to know all three sides and all three angles in order to know that two triangles are congruent. 3 out of 6 of those pieces of information is enough to tell. Now, since we only need 3 out of 6, we do have 5 ways to prove congruency. The first one is side, side, side. If they're marked the same, if they're numbered the same, and all 3 sides of the 2 triangles are congruent or equal, obviously they're equal by side, side, side. The next one is side, angle, side. The third is angle, side, angle. The fourth is angle, angle, side. And then the fifth is hypotenuse leg. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in just a second with some pictures, but these are the only 5 ways you're going to use to prove that 2 triangles are congruent. So the first one I did talk about already was side, 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 and what you need for this is 3 pairs of corresponding congruent sides. I've labeled them here, I've marked them here. If you have them on Google Classroom, you can see that they're colored. There are 3 sets of equal sides. So there's one set with 1 tick mark, which is AB, XY. There's one with 2, so BC is equal to ZY or YZ. And then finally AC and ZX. So if you see that, you know these are congruent by side, side, side. The next one we have is angle, side, angle. And in this you need 2 congruent angle pairs and the included side between them congruent. So they're labeled below. Angle A is equal to angle D. Angle C is equal to angle F. And then that side between them is congruent as well. Our third one is side, angle, side. And in this you need 2 pairs of congruent sides and the angle between them is congruent. So angle E and angle M are equal to each other, and then those sides that form it are also congruent. Our fourth one is angle, angle, side, and in this you need 2 congruent angle pairs. So you have angle A is equal to angle D, angle B is equal to angle E, and then that side has to be the non-included one, so the one not between them. It just has to be one of the others. And then the last one we have is hypotenuse leg, and you can only use this with right triangles, but that does not mean that right triangles only use hypotenuse leg. So in order to use this, you need a congruent hypotenuse, which remember is that side across from the 90-degree angle, and then a congruent leg as well. You do need to be careful though. There are 2 that you cannot use to prove that triangles are congruent. The first one is angle, angle, angle. Just because all the angles are congruent does not mean that the triangles are. Their sides can be different lengths, but angles the same. And then the other one is side, side, angle. All right, so you're going to do some practice problems. I'm actually going to work one of each kind with you, but I need you to set your paper up just like this. You're going to put your name in the top left. You also need to make sure you have your class period on there. And then the title of it is Congruent Triangles Practice. So make sure your paper is labeled like this. All right, so numbers 1 through 4, I'm asking you to list out the 6 sets of congruent parts from the congruent statement. And this is just like we did with our similar statements. So you have triangle XWV is congruent to triangle GHI. I'm actually going to do the angles first because those are the easier ones. We're just going to use one letter in this case. So remember, you just match up the position of letters. So my first letter in the first triangle is X. My first letter in the second triangle is G. So I know that angle X is equal to angle G. I do the same thing for the second letter, and I find out that angle W is equal to angle H. And then finally for the third, I have V and I. So angle V is equal to angle I. Now I'm going to also do this for the sides as well, but remember our sides use 2 letters. So I'm going to look at the first 2 letters of each triangle, and I find out that side XW is equal to side GH. I'm going to go ahead and do it with the second and third. So I have WV and HI. And then the last side or set of sides I'm going to do is that third letter and the first. So the third letter and the first. So I now have VX is equal to IG. So these are your 6 sets of congruent parts. You have the 3 angles and the 3 sides. The next one I'm going to do with you is number 5. I do have a picture of it here just so I can draw on it and look at it. You do not have to draw the pictures on this worksheet though. So I'm asking you to complete the congruent statement or congruency statement. And so when I look at it, I have X, Y, W, and I need to look at what the other triangle would be. And the easiest way to do that is to look at the angles. So I'm going to actually color code them. You have the first angle with 1 mark, you have the second angle with 2 marks, and then finally the third angle does have the 3 marks, meaning they correspond with each other. So when I look at this, I went from angle 1 to angle 2 to angle 3, or I went green, pink to red. So I'm going to do that for the other triangle. I'm going to start at green, which is Y. I'm going to go to pink, which is X, and I'm going to end at red, which is M. So this is your congruent statement finished. Now the last thing I'm going to do is number 11. 11 to the end, you're telling me how these triangles are congruent. So when I look at this, I see that I have 1 set of congruent sides with 1 tick mark. I have a second set with congruent sides with the 2 tick marks, but I don't know what the other piece is. I don't see any angle markings, so it's obviously not going to be one of our 5 that involves angles. It's not a right triangle, so it's not hypotenuse leg, but they do share this third side, which means that it's equal to each other. So because of that, because there are 3 sets of congruent sides, I know these triangles are congruent by side, side, side. So that's what you're doing for 11 through 25. You're listing how they're congruent. There is a key with the answers with the sub, so if you are stuck, you need to go up there and look at it. But this will be checked tomorrow. Your notes will be checked on Thursday as well, with Tuesdays and Wednesdays notes, and that will be a minor grade too.